Hey, if you're a parent and an entrepreneur, or you're just busy as heck, you're gonna love this episode of Early to Rise Radio, where Daniel Woodrum grills me about communication, parenting, leadership, and how to make sure that you live an amazing life with your family. All right, ready to rock?
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, Craig, so we are going to talk today about parenthood and how your experience has been with parenthood, and how does it translate to business.
Sure.
And between us, Craig, we've got 5 kids, 5 years and younger, so then we have a lot of...
They're not ours.
Not together. Be very clear about that.
Yeah.
So, Craig, if you had to sum up the past 18 months when you first became a parent in one word, what would that one word be?
Dude, it's amazing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It's, I could sit here and talk for 10 hours to somebody that doesn't have kids and they would never understand it. It's absolutely amazing. So it's amazing.
What's amazing about it?
What's amazing about it? Man, I mean, so much love from the kids, watching them develop, watching them, watching Isabella learn a new skill. Like, her first one was like this, like you just go, wow, she learned how to wave. Wow, it's unbelievable. I can't believe it. First words, baby farts are amazing. Like when your child just like in the middle of the night lets one rip and you're like, I did that. I made that. It's pretty awesome. Baby giggles, the first time, we actually have a baby like over there right now. The other one, the new one, Sophia, who doesn't really do much yet. So, you think she smiles, but it's probably gas. And so that's 6 weeks old. So, it'll be a while before she really does anything. But when she starts doing things, you're just like, I can't believe that. And I think another word is miracles. Like miracles upon miracles upon miracles happen to have a kid. Like, many people out there. I was talking to a guy who said it cost him $250,000 in IVF to have their kid. It's insane, right? Like they're just praying for miracles. And then you have 17-year-old kids who brush their jeans against one another. But still, it's like you have to meet the woman or the man, right? You have, it's a miracle to meet the person. And then you have the miracle of getting pregnant, right? Because if you actually look at the numbers, 80 million sperm, right? And one guy gets through. Unbelievable. It's a miracle. Because then it's a miracle how they turn out. And our first daughter, it's a miracle because she's I don't know, it's they honestly got the best physical genetics. Unbelievable. She's super tall, she's super athletic. It's no possible, I can't believe it. We created this child. But then it's a miracle you stay pregnant because you don't even know you're pregnant for the most dangerous part of being pregnant. And then, you're not supposed to eat tuna or drink alcohol or whatever. Most of these things don't make sense. The alcohol makes sense, so we didn't drink alcohol. But, not having sushi, it doesn't make any sense. You can have sushi. Anyways, you're not supposed to do all these things. And then when you're the first time parent, it's a miracle that you're able to get this thing alive for however long, right? Because you don't know what you're doing, the baby's slippery and all this stuff. Yeah, it's just so many miracles. And so that's an amazing thing. And yeah, I mean, it's really fantastic. It's tough. It's sometimes you're like, this isn't really as hard as people say it is, but most of the time it is.
Yeah.
But if you forces you to communicate and plan and prepare and do all this stuff, but if you're good at that, you're going to be kind of okay.
Yeah. You just figure it out, right? Just like in business, you figure it out.
Yeah, you figure it out, and you really tap into people that have figured it out. So we got a lot of help, and not a lot of family help because our family lived a long way away, but we hired a lot of help, and people taught us how to do things. Changing diapers was way easier than I thought. So getting them to sleep is a tough thing. Way tougher for Isabella than it is for our second one. So it's just a lot of challenges.
Yeah. What would have been the greatest piece of advice you got before parenting? I know you got
the greatest piece of advice I got from this guy, Ed O'Keefe. He said, you can be tired and your wife can be tired, but you can't be tired at the same time. And I've told that to a lot of people, and they said, that's amazing. A lot of new parents. Because, again, everybody knows when they're tired, they're not their best selves. If you watch a Snickers commercial, you know how people act. And so if you got two people who are acting like Betty White in the Snickers commercial and tired and cranky at one another, it's going to blow up. And then that's going to lead to future problems and all that sort of stuff. There's the other wild child right there. She's an animal. And so that's the best thing, is just coordinate your rest schedule so that somebody has got some sleep. Because a lot of the times you're sitting there and there's two people doing one person's job. And it's like, listen, I don't want you angry at me, but I'm gonna go and lie down for a bit because, two of us can't hold the baby at one time. So you can be tired, your wife can be tired, but you can't be tired at the same time was the best piece of advice I'd say.
Great advice. So what's been the greatest parent lesson you've learned so far that has a crossover as an entrepreneur?
I interviewed you recently and you said you can't be selfish. You got to be absolutely selfless. You have to stop what you're doing when there's a problem. You have to go and you have to plan your days so that you get whatever time you want for yourself. You might have to get up early or stay up late, but you can't take it away from the kid's time because the kid depends on you. And it's the same when you're running a business, is that you can carve out a little bit of time for yourself. You have to carve out a little bit of time for yourself to do the work, but at the same time, you are really leading this. It's not necessarily a family, but it's a group of individuals that depend on you. And everything is your responsibility when you're a parent, everything is your responsibility when you're the business owner. And so you have to make sure that everything runs really well. And so being selfless and being a selfless leader is really important. On a tactical basis, it's really communication. Because if you don't communicate properly, you don't know, well, who's supposed to be getting up right now at this hour? And so, one of the things that Michelle and I learned quickly was that for me personally, if I can get a few hours of sleep before 1 a.m., I'm generally fine to be up after 1 a.m. for the next 17 hours. It's totally fine. So she would make sure that she did the 10 or 11 type feedings. And then once 1:30, 2 o'clock hit, I'm going to take over. If that's not communicated and you expect somebody else to do something, then that's when you're going to lead into a lot of problems. So you got to over communicate. You got to over communicate about what the kid's going to wear, where the diapers are, the supplies. You got supply management for sure. Especially you got 3 kids, man. So imagine the supply management and that sort of stuff, from groceries and what we're doing and who does what by when and who's going to be where by when and all that sort of stuff. And you just can't take an extra hour for yourself when you're out and about going to a coffee shop. Get back on time. And sometimes you come home and it's like, well, yeah, the baby's been sleeping. I've just been sitting here doing nothing. But most of the time, it's not like that. And you're coming home and you're rescuing the other person. So it's a teamwork aspect as well. And the communication just has to be super strong, and the planning and preparation has to be super strong.
Sure. And I'm sure there's been a time, definitely with me and my wife, Brittany, maybe there's a time of conflict or disagreement when it comes to whether it's parenting or there's an obstacle that came about and you guys need to communicate. Like, how do you, Michelle, communicate? How do you guys get on the same page?
Well, the great thing is that we're really on the same page to begin with through the foundationals of what we talk about in our coaching program, which is values. We share the same values. So we have Ballantyne core values, which are love, freedom, personal responsibility, honesty, and independent thinking. Those are the 5. And so we can that's our employee handbook, right? Our Ballantyne employee handbook. We just go to that. Is the decision I'm making in alignment with that? Am I being honest? Am I holding anything back? Am I doing this out of love or not? Are we doing? Is the decision I'm making moving us towards more freedom or away from freedom, even if it's a hard decision? And so having that in place is very important. So those are the values, and then our vision. Our vision is to have this amazing family, have this many kids, and devote our time to our kids. And it's like we don't have to homeschool them now because she's only 18 months, but it's like we're setting it up. It's going to be the decision, guaranteed. So we're on the same page on so many things. If we ever get off, it's only because, well, maybe we thought we were on the same page, and we are on the same page, we just haven't communicated it. So it's like sometimes you gotta make sure that everything that you're thinking, sometimes you forget to say it, and you gotta make sure that you just have that all down. And so it's a lot of communication. We do minimum of a daily 1-hour walk. We get through a lot there. I mean, honestly, I spend way more time with my kids than most people do. I remember, we hire coaches for all types of things. We had a family coach, and he said, well, okay, so how much time do you spend with your kids? And I get up, and then Isabella gets up at 5:30, so I'm with her from 5:30 to 8:30, all of us together as a family. And then probably 30 minutes throughout the day, and then from I try and get done around 4 or 4:30, and then put her to bed at 7:30. So about 6 hours. And he goes, what, 6 hours? He couldn't believe it. He's like, I don't know anybody who spends 6 hours with their kids every day. I'm like, well, that's what I designed my life to do. So I have a different approach to parenting because I'm an older person who always wanted kids. That's going to be totally different than somebody who's 24, 25 and didn't expect to have kids. So I definitely have a different perspective and a different approach, and I have different goals. But for me personally, I had kids to spend time with them. And I understand our friend Galal, his parents had kids when they were really young, and weren't able to be there all the time. And my parents, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. If I wanted to play sports in the summertime, I had to get there. And I lived in the middle of nowhere. So I was telling Galel the other day, I used to, in the summertime, my mom would be in the garden until 8 o'clock at night, and my dad would, he was farming, and he was either farming or he went to sleep. And if I wanted to play baseball, which started at like 6:30 at night, it was a 3-mile bike ride, and I was 9 years old. And it was a 3-mile bike ride through like the type of roads you see on TV shows where the children is abducted, right? So I had a 3-mile bike ride at 9 years old on a no-speed bike, right? This is like a bike that has no gears. So it takes me 35 minutes to do this bike ride. All these other kids have their parents picking them up and driving them home, and they have like the candy booth, so you go to the candy booth after and you get candy, and then I bike home, and all these cars will like drive by me. And I lived in like redneck Canada, so I remember this one guy, he's like drove by in his pickup truck, and they would always like beep at me, but he had a da-na-na-na-na, like when he honked his horn, that's what you heard. So I'm like, I'm biking home and all angry at my parents because they didn't drive me and I gotta listen to that horn. Anyways, that was, I understand, like some people are in that position. Now you can't do that today, but a lot of people aren't able to spend as much time with their kids as I am, but that's the whole plan. That was the whole plan, so we were on the same page that way.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Now you mentioned your father a minute ago. I know you've been very open and honest about your father and books and emails and things like that. And I know you've said in the past that he's the hardest worker you've ever known, but you've also shared some of his struggles, as we all have.
Yeah.
But like, what would you want to pass down to Isabel and Sophia in terms of like the greatest lessons that you learned from your father?
Well, I think like part of my dad is in Isabel. She's so wild, and whenever my dad saw her keep outside, that meant, oh, okay, I guess I'm supposed to go through there, which terrified me as a kid. But I think that's what she's gonna be like. So it's gonna be like, hey, here's my dad again, but in the 3-year-old daughter format. So it's totally fine. But the lessons are, I mean, he was a hard worker, and I don't really, there's not too many other lessons I'd pass on. It's more like, what not to do for me, which was, just make sure that I'm more present with my kid and it's not like he didn't spend time with me. He just was an alcoholic. So when I say like, he wasn't a perfect dad, like he literally was just an alcoholic and therefore was drunk some of the time, but in most cases the rest of it was fine. So he spent some time, he did some things, and I guess the one thing is that's a really great lesson is that he would take me out of school and we would go to the stockyards, which is where like you auction off cattle. So it'd be like a Thursday and I'd be there instead of in school. I'd be like, man, the real lessons you don't learn in school. So that's the type of thing, again, because we're going to homeschool our kids, that will be doing weird trips like that. So it was that approach. He's definitely an unconventional dude, and I'm an unconventional person, and I'm sure my wife is a very unconventional person, and the kids are going to be unconventional. They're going to be given the option to be unconventional. They can be conventional if they want, but they'll be given the option to do that.
Yeah. So obviously we talked about communication earlier. I want to go back to that for a second. So communication is key both in relationships and parenting and entrepreneurship. If someone in business is struggling with communication, what type of piece of advice would you give them? Like, where would they start?
Well, I mean, first of all, we need to define what do you mean by struggling with communication? Like, you're not communicating on a regular basis, but you have the capability to communicate on a regular basis, then just communicate more. If you want to communicate, but you don't know what to say or you don't know how to do it, then we would give them a framework. We'd say, okay, listen, do you like to do video? Do you like to do audio? Do you like to do meetings? Do you like to write? Okay, well, if they like to write, then we would show them how to do a company newsletter on a regular basis. And we would just give them a consistent pathway to communicating. Now, if they're like, okay, great, I'm willing to do that, but now I don't know what to say, then we would show them that, listen, when you communicate with people, you want to be optimistic and positive. You want to give recognition of other people. You want to be also honest and give people a state of how the business is doing so that they don't go and make stories up in their head. And that you want to share feedback from customers so that they understand that there's a bigger reason that they work for this company rather than just taking a paycheck or you getting a whole bunch of money. And then you also want to have communication as a two-way street. So you're going to be asking for their opinion and their advice because hopefully you hired good people who are smart people who are going to be able to give you advice. And then you want to reiterate the core values that you have in your company. Communicate them often, communicate examples of it so that and something that you've taught me, is that you get more of what you reward of. You reward, and it's the same with the dog. Like when if you want a dog to sit, you reward the dog for sitting. If you don't want the dog to bark, you don't like give the dog a steak every time he barks at the mailman, right? And so it's the same when you're training humans. Is the same thing. If you want somebody to be proactive and you see somebody be proactive, you just make the biggest deal out of somebody being proactive, and they will continue to be proactive. For the other people that are not proactive, you will have to teach them what being proactive looks like and opportunities to do so, and hopefully over time you will get them to learn how to be proactive. You simply can't praise another person for doing something and expect somebody else to take that up, because I thought that was all you had to do, but it isn't. You have to tell people what you want to see. You have to explain to them how they can do that thing that you want to see, and then you have to reward them for doing that.
Yep.
I just kind of skipped the first 2 steps and was disappointed a few times.
Yeah. So a lot of our coaching clients, and I've certainly been there, struggle with, when you're working, you feel guilty you're not with your kids, you feel like you're guilty that you're not working. So what piece of advice would you give listeners here who maybe have young kids, they have a business they're trying to grow, and they're just dealing with that guilt?
I don't know if it's the United States Constitution or something else, but they want separation of church and state. And I don't know, again, what legal document that is, but what I try and help people with is I want a separation of work life and family life. Now, it's very simple to do that. You just need to have boundaries and systems in place. And so the boundaries need to be an end of workday. Now, Sheryl Sandberg in her book, Lean In, had an end of workday, family time, and then a return to work at night, at home, in her home office. And I think that's okay too, right? But it's just the boundaries, there is a separation between the two. I think that in most cases, most people are gonna have that, maybe not every day of the week, but you might have that a couple of days per week on busy days. But if you really wanna be present with your family, then you have to make sure that you are dedicated, and that, okay, well, what stops me from being present with my family? Not respecting my boundaries, having my phone or my computer open and available, having notifications on. So just think of how could you invert the problem, as Charlie Munger says, that's the way to solve a problem, is you invert the problem. You figure out, if I wouldn't want to be present with my family, what would I do? I'd leave my phone on, I'd leave my computer open, I would be thinking about work, I would not pay attention to my kids, I would be in my own head, that sort of stuff. Oh, okay, well then just don't do those things. So set it up so that you have a boundary that's communicated with everybody. Hey, listen everybody, at 5 o'clock I'm gonna leave work. I'll be home by 5:20. From 5:20 until 7:30, it's family time. Everyone's gonna put their phones away. What we're gonna do is have dinner at this time, then we're gonna do homework together, then we're gonna have bath time together, maybe read a book or whatever it is. But from this time to this time, you tell your friends, they ain't getting any messages back from you. You ain't playing any video games with anybody, provided they don't have sports or whatever it is or other appointments. But if we're at home, we're present. Okay, great. Now it's been communicated, the boundaries have been set, the systems have been built, and that's how you're able to do that. And I think it's very important for people to understand that they can pull themselves away from work. That working 12 hours in a day versus 8 hours in a day is not 50% more productivity. It's, not maybe 50%, 25 or 33% or whatever the math works out, because you're not gonna be very productive in those extra 4 hours. So you have to have that separation. For example, checking email once and going through 50 messages versus checking email 10 times and going through 5 messages, you're gonna spend way more time doing the 10 email checks and 5 messages than you are going through 50 emails at once. Now it might feel like a long time, but you're gonna get through it really, really fast and efficiently. Then you're also gonna be able to, half of those things are deletable immediately. Yep. And anyways, there's a lot of things. Obviously I wrote the book about it, Perfect Week Formula, so that we have those boundaries and systems in place. But man, the stories we hear from helping people cut down 70 hours, 80 hours into 40 or 35 hours in 2 weeks, unbelievable, because people are just wasting their time. And when you force them to do 10 hours of work in a 7-hour day, most people can actually do that and have more time for their family and friends and their fitness and their faith and their hobbies and all that good stuff. But it just comes with totally reframing the way the day goes. Yeah,
I mean, for me as a parent, I've shrank my work day and I get more done because you're more focused. You have to be, right?
Exactly.
You have those boundaries.
Exactly. Yeah. Because otherwise we just let these projects become longer. We are researching more. We're really not working. You know, people are flipping between websites and all that sort of stuff. And I think that if somebody says to me, listen, I need an 11 or 12-hour workday, I'd say, let me see your internet browsing history. Let me see your screen time, and let's be brutally honest about what you're really doing in these work hours. So we need to figure that out.
Yeah, and you mentioned helping a lot of clients. Is there one special client that means the most to you in terms of something that you help them overcome to become a better parent, a better entrepreneur?
I think there's a really great story from a guy named Adam Pearson. So Adam Pearson read my book at a point where he was working so much that he said he would have panic attacks in his bathroom, and he also would just be sitting there at dinner and he was so still engrossed in his work, and his family would be saying, hey, Adam, Dad, did you hear what I said? Or his wife would say, Adam, did you even hear what I said? And he wasn't present. And he read the book and worked with me, and I think it was 12 months later, he was down to a 4-day work week from 6.5. And 35 hours, and his business doubled, and he was just so happy, and he was doing all these projects with his family on the weekends. And I think that's, going back to the question before this, is when you fill your calendar with other commitments to your family and you shorten your work week, it's like you do the little Amazon box shtick. It's really good. Daniel has an Amazon box in front of him. He says, there's 168 hours in this Amazon box, which is how many hours there are in a week. And most people, what they do is they put all their work in there, and then it's like, I got 8 hours left for my life. No, that's not how you do it. You take the Amazon box and you go, listen, I'm going to put 10 hours in there for my kids' sports. I'm going to put 5 hours in there for my personal well-being. I'm going to put 8 hours in there for family visits to mom and dad and grandpa. And I'm going to put 3 hours in there for date night and massage. And now I'm left with like 80 hours. And I'm sleeping, 7 hours a night, 7 nights a week. That's 49 hours. Now I'm down to 31 hours. And I got to make my 7-figure business fit into 31 hours. And that's how you do it. And that's how you're going to force yourself to go, you know what? I can't be starting this new project. We got to focus on these projects in 31 hours. And so that's super important. That's the way that I really want people to look at life.
It helps you cut out the noise, right?
Build your business around your life and not your life around your business. That's the 12 words on the cover of the book.
Yep. All right, so shifting quite slightly here. So your wife, Michelle, is amazing. We all love her here. What are the two, say, characteristics that you admire most about Michelle that has significantly impacted you as a person, as an entrepreneur, as a parent?
Well, she's like Isabel. She's a pretty wild lady. So, she's so much fun. She really is. And, Michelle and I like to joke that we don't just love each other, we really like each other. Like, we really like each other. We're best friends. And, we got together right before COVID, so we had to really like each other. It was a good thing we really liked each other because we spent so much time together. But, we just want to hang out with each other all the time, and it works great. So, I really like her because she's a lot of fun, and she's an independent thinker, and she's just so kind and caring. And so she's a very empathetic person naturally, which is not, I'm not. And so she's really good at interacting with people, and it's just such a great, she's strong where I'm weak relationship. Yeah, it's really fantastic that way.
Good. What are some fun family traditions that you guys do right now?
So we do a lot of travel. I wouldn't say that it's, because our lives have been kind of all over the place with travel and living in different places and not being around family as much. So we do go to my mom's. We try to go to my mom's for Christmas every year. We didn't make it last year because Isabella got sick right before we went. But we do travel. Every month we try and go to a new place for vacation. And, we love to go, and we, water parks and all that sort of stuff. And then American Thanksgiving, I call it American Thanksgiving because I'm Canadian. And so on American Thanksgiving, we don't live in America, but it feels like it's a holiday because all of my American clients and friends and team members are not working. So we like to use that as our vision day. So when we lived in Canada, we went to Whistler, and we sat and wrote our family vision out. And so we like to do that every year on American Thanksgiving, and that's a lot of fun. But then before I met Michelle, if it was my birthday, my goal was how few people can send me text messages on my birthday wishing me happy birthday. That was my goal. But she just, biggest birthday celebrations in the world. So, and then Isabella, biggest birthday celebration I've ever seen. So she loves birthdays, and so birthdays are always going to be a big deal for us in the family.
Yeah. Well, to that point, I've known you for over 12 years, Craig, and I still don't know when your birthday is. It's a secret.
I like to tell people that I was adopted, and they didn't tell my parents when my birthday was. So nobody knows my birthday. They just know the year.
So So, you've got a lot going on, obviously. How do you and Michelle make time for each other?
Well, that's planning and preparation. So we do the non-negotiables, as we talked about in the Perfect Week formula. And we do spend a lot of time together, but we also like the kids so much that we take them out for a lot of date nights and for stuff. So we don't like to be away from the kids. There's some parents who because they spend so much time parenting and don't get a lot of help, they need some time alone. But we don't, because we get a lot of help with our parenting. So we have an hour walk in the morning, and we have sometimes an hour before that, depending on when Isabella gets up. So we have our hour with Isabella before the walk, we have our hour at the walk, then I make breakfast for Michelle, and we do our little daily huddle about here's the schedule of the day. Then throughout the day, we might see each other a little bit, and then we might not have dinner together because Michelle and I eat kind of early, and so, then we'll have dinner with Isabella. We'll make sure her dinner's ready, and then we'll go for another walk sometimes, or we'll go out and run an errand together, or we'll just hang out. So we have all that time, and with the kids are so young, it's not like they're really in the conversation. Right. So we're really having a conversation with each other while we just make sure that Isabella doesn't fall off a chair or something, which she does a lot. So then we have that, and then we have the weekly date night, and now that Michelle has recovered from the second baby, now we're going to have more of date day adventure stuff, like water parks and all the childish things Michelle wants to do.
So, as in with business and parenting, there's always unexpected conflicts, obstacles, challenges that come up. Can you tell me about maybe a recent time where you had an obstacle come up in your parenting, and what did you do to solve that?
Well, today sucked for sure. So, I had this plan. I was going to go. I was going to do the normal morning, and then, once the nanny got there at 8, I was going to go to the gym, and then I was going to come over here and meet, the team, and we were going to do all these podcasts. But at 7:30 in the morning or 7 in the morning, we find out the nanny's like, hey, I can come over, but I'm going to wear a mask. I'm like, no, don't come over to our house. So we gave the other nanny the day off. So it's normally like the regular nanny's day, but we gave her the day off, and so we had the substitute nanny coming in. So now we don't have anybody coming in. And then yesterday, Michelle got alerted of this emergency appointment she had to do. Today was the only day she could do the appointment, and so she had to leave the house. So now I'm at home with 2 kids, and fortunately, everything worked out where I really just looked after Isabella. The other baby slept, but that just threw off my entire day. So I had to cancel a meeting. I had to show up late to this, and we just problem solved. We just problem solved. Like Michelle sent emails and text messages out to all these other potential nannies. That didn't work. I was like, okay, I'll just rearrange my schedule. And then it was like, well, should I invite the guys over here? Or she said, why don't you just go when I get back from the appointment? I'm like, I'm not leaving you alone with these 2 kids. Although apparently,
right.
Sophia slept for 3 hours now straight. She actually could have been okay, but I wouldn't want her to leave me alone. The only reason I was okay in the morning is because Isabella was going to go down for her nap, and she got back from her appointment really fast. But, I'm still mentally trying to get over that loss of workout and skipped meeting and stuff, and I'm trying to just be like, yeah, but everything turned out okay, but I'm still kind of ticked. But we got through it through communication and teamwork, but also, as ticked as I am, thinking, dude, it doesn't really matter. Just relax. Everything's going to be fine. Nobody's hurt or anything. Everybody's happy. So just looking at the long term.
Right.
Yeah. So just not letting little things blow up, because then you have all these kind of scars in your relationship or in your business or in between team members and all that stuff when you let something just get out of proportion. Then you can't. So listen, we're totally going to survive this. It's hardly a problem at all. It's just an annoyance, right, is what it is.
It's like, if this is the worst part of our day, or we're okay,
sure.
Right?
Sure. And actually, I've done a bunch of podcasts today, and it was either you or it was Gavin talking about, hey, listen, there's still a victory in here somewhere. And we had this victory where Sophia's passport came in faster than we thought, so that was great. And then, Michelle got through this appointment faster than we thought, and it made our lives easier. And so, the kids are healthy, and so everything's great. There's a million things to be grateful for. Just missed out on a meeting.
Yeah. All right, so curious minds want to know, Sophia was not supposed to be Sophia, correct?
Right.
So tell us this story.
Yeah, we were thinking this, are we gonna name her Olivia or Sophia? Then somebody threw in Ava, and I think those were the 3 names. And then we decided on Olivia a long time ago. I wrote Sophia in my book a long time ago, but then we went with Olivia. And then when we had her, like after about 10 days, Michelle just goes, I don't think she's an Olivia. And I said, I don't think she's an Olivia either. So then we just went back to Sophia. So
Gotcha.
yeah. We met this one couple. Well, Michelle follows this one lady on Instagram who didn't name their kid for like 6 months. Really weird, man. You can't get any paperwork done though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, they made us sign paperwork right away when our kids were born.
Yeah,
the name.
I don't know what we did.
Yeah.
It's Mexico.
Different rules here.
Definitely.
All right, so my last question here, Craig, is let's say that 40 years from now, and you're celebrating Christmas with your kids, your grandchildren, and Michelle and your kids give you a book. And it's just got a bunch of different photos throughout all these years. And the last page is just a little paragraph that they want everyone to remember you by, like your legacy. Not so much as an entrepreneur, just more as a parent. What would that paragraph entail? What would you want that paragraph to say?
It would say, Daddy was there, and he... it's not gonna be a long paragraph. Daddy was there and he took care of us and he gave us lots of memories and lots of fun, and I'm so glad that he's my daddy. That's like, I think like if I wrote that for my father, it'd be like, okay, my dad taught me a lot about what to do, what not to do. He showed me that to think independently, and showed me what life was really all about, and taught me where the real lessons were learned. I think, my kids would be more about, he took good care of mommy, and probably wouldn't be saying mommy at 40 years old, but maybe they would be. Anyways, so I think it's more about, he was everything that daddy is supposed to do. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think that's, because I thought about that question for myself, and it's like, I just think daddy did the best he could, at the end of the day is... Yeah,
we did what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And did a good job of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Sophia agrees.
Yeah, that's right. Squeaking. It likes to squeak.
All right, Craig, last piece of advice. Let's just say that there's an entrepreneur on here right now who's got a business and they're about to have their first kid. What are just biggest piece of advice you could give this new father?
Man, massive preparation. So just talk through everything, mm-hmm. and get clear on the sacrifices that are going to be made and the schedules that you're going to run. Be grateful, but understand that there's going to be unexpected stuff. Fingers crossed and all prayers up to you that your baby's going to be happy and healthy. But the kid might scream and cry and not sleep more than 45 minutes. Michelle follows another lady on Instagram. She's got this is her 5th kid. The kid hasn't slept more than 45 minutes straight in 5 months that they've had. It's unbelievable. It's like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
But it's possible that's what's going to happen. And so you have to plan for the unexpected. You have to be happy and grateful for it, and you have to communicate as much as you can. You have to get the systems and the stations all set up, mm-hmm.
And
then just understand that life is going to throw you some curveballs.
Yeah, and appreciate those good days you have.
Yeah, and give your partner grace, because they're going to be operating under pressure, and don't take everything as that's said as that they don't mean everything they say in certain circumstances. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's tough.
It is tough. All right, Craig. Well, thank you for that. I know everyone got a lot of great value for that, and
Awesome. So Daniel, where can people connect with you on Instagram?
Yeah, so Daniel_Lee_Woodrum, and you will see a lot of photos, a lot of posts about my kids, but I always try to, relay it to business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure you go back and watch all the interviews that I have done with Daniel here in the Early Rise radio show. So you will find them on YouTube. Just type in Craig Ballantyne, Daniel Woodrum, and you'll find all our interviews. We've done quite a few on leadership.
Yeah, number of them.
And we just crushed another really, really good one recently. So make sure you check that out. And also hit him up on email, Daniel@CraigBallantyne.com, if you have parenting questions, or if you have questions where you want him to ask me on the next interview.
Yes, that'd be good.
Awesome. Hit me up on Instagram myself, Real Craig Ballantyne, and go grab The Perfect Week Formula at perfectweekformula.com, because that's a book that's going to help you separate your business from your personal life. All right? Talk to you soon.